Talk to the NPC here in the lobby. They'll tell you that in order to get the token, you need to defeat 2 bosses. These bosses were definitely difficult for me and will definitely be difficult for newer players, so I'll show you the basics, how the bosses fight, and their weaknesses. Your basic punch lets you do a fast but low damage swing at your enemy. This will also take away the enemy's health, but it will slowly regenerate. Your heavy punch is a slower punch, but it does more damage. It will remove the dark red regenerating health from the enemy's bar, lessening the max total that they can regenerate. Hold your block button to block basic and heavy punches. Just be careful that your block health doesn't drop below 0 or you'll be block broken and stunned. Your block HP will regenerate over time though. If you hit the enemy while they're about to throw a punch at you, you'll interrupt them and deal extra damage. This is called a counter. If you use a basic attack and then immediately use a heavy attack while the basic attack is winding up, you'll perform a feint. This can be done vice versa as well. By moving in any direction and hitting the dash button, you'll swiftly dodge attacks if timed right. A perfect dodge is when you dash on the same side as the enemy's punch, and when timed right, a slow motion cutscene will play, and it will stun the enemy briefly, giving you a free attack opportunity. If you're using the Hawk or Freedom style, you can do something called a sway back. If you don't move and simply just press your dash key, you'll lean back. This will allow you to perfect dodge regardless of what side the enemy's punch came from. When you deal and take enough damage, you'll charge up your ultimate. This is a slow punch that is also blockable, but if you're able to land it, it will play a cutscene to deal about half of the enemy's health. Your basic fighting style should be good against the bosses, but if you open up this menu and spin for some styles, the styles that could also work are counter, turtle, hands low, wolf, or hawk. Now, here's how to beat both bosses and how each one individually works. Both bosses tend to immediately throw a punch after receiving a heavy punch, so be prepared to dodge or throw out a fast basic attack to counter them. They also tend to do this if they perfect dodge you and hit you, so be prepared for another immediate hit afterwards. Now, the bosses don't seem to use their ults unless they perfect dodge you, but in case they do, be prepared to block their glowing punch. Since these bosses react so fast, I don't recommend using feints to trip them up. The final phase of their fights is most important though. They gain the ability to do a special attack, and their basic and heavy attacks do monstrous damage and block damage. However, the easiest way to beat them is just simply to save your ultimate until their final phase, get them to at least half or lower than half HP, get a perfect dodge on them, and then immediately use your ultimate. This is gonna take out half of their health and get them either to like 1 HP or just be dead outright. You might even be able to freely land your ult if they're charging up their attack, but I don't recommend doing this on the second boss, and I'll explain why later. The first boss usually plays more passively, dashing around and waiting for you to make the first move essentially. So make sure you try and stay up close to him. And I don't recommend attacking frequently either, because since he dodges so often, you may throw out a punch and he'll just happen to dodge at the same time and boom, your perfect dodge. Now, because he plays so passively, I don't recommend just standing there and trying to bait out his punch to perfect dodge him. In his final phase, he'll launch a wide range attack, so you have to drop everything you're doing and immediately spam dash to get out of that range. Otherwise, if you don't, you'll take a massive amount of damage that could basically cost you the entire game. Also, make sure you watch carefully for when he swings his sword slower than usual, because this means he's about to do a heavy attack, which of course is going to be a key opportunity for a perfect dodge if timed right. The second boss is an inboxer who stays up close and applies pressure. She uses feints, but they kind of go at the same speed as a normal punch, so I really wouldn't be too worried about that. A pattern I noticed her doing was her using a basic attack chain, then using a heavy attack in the middle, and then continuing the chain. When you know that heavy attack in the middle is coming, make sure you unblock and get ready to spam the dash button in order to perfect dodge her. In her final phase, she'll launch a deadlier attack with a faster windup but with a thinner range. Because of how fast this attack winds up, do not use your ultimate on her during this. Now, most importantly, you have to be aware and you have to notice when she's about to do a heavier attack, which is going to be indicated when she swings her sword slightly slower. Since it deals major damage, and if you can successfully get down that pattern, you'll be able to freely perfect dodge them. Once her health is slightly before half, try to get a perfect dodge, or, of course, if you see her run out of stamina, you can do this as well. Immediately use your ultimate to beat the boss. I'm making more guide videos on the hunt tokens, so subscribe to see more of those guides first.